Oh, hello. My name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So I don't know how long this video will be, but I just wanted to hop on here and reflect with you guys a little bit about like why I personally love and seek out 3-star reads, which gets into the whole like discussion of rating systems in general and like should we even be giving ratings, yada yada yada. That's a different video for a different time. But I was chatting with, I think, Beautifully Bookish Bethany and Amanda at the Naughty Librarian. We were on our little Voxer chat. And I was talking to them about why I personally actually really like 3-star reads and why I seek them out and why, for me, I know some people say, oh, like, I think sometimes the tone can be like, oh, it was only 3 stars, or kind of acting like a 3-star rating is a bad rating. And I guess in a certain way, like, I guess depending on how you look at it, it is a bad rating because it means that it wasn't like, it didn't provoke enough of a response in you, I guess. Like it wasn't something you loved and it also wasn't something that you were like, ugh, it was just sort of in the middle. So I guess in some ways, I think why people sort of feel the need to apologize for rating things 3 stars kind of maybe goes back to that idea of like, this wasn't really that great. It wasn't terrible either, but like, it was just sort of mediocre. So I guess for me, though, that's not how I look at 3 stars, A, but B, the way that I do look at 3-star books have a very specific function in my reading diet, in my reading life, that's really important to me and is an important part of how I'm able to read so much. So anyway, I just thought I would give like a brief defense of 3-star reads as I understand them. So when I give a book 3 stars, what I mean by that is that that book met my expectations. It did not exceed my expectations, but it did what I wanted it to do. I thought that it either was perfectly competent in terms of the writing, but maybe that just didn't have anything extra, or maybe the plot was something I've seen a lot, but I thought it was executed in a perfectly respectable manner, or maybe it just was sort of like, yeah, this is fine. It was a way to pass some time. And you know, I get that that's not like a ringing endorsement for a book, but I also think that like you shouldn't discount something just because it was fine. For me, I'm actually looking for books that are just fine as a part of my regular reading diet because they serve as almost sort of like palate cleansers for me. So when I'm in the middle of reading like some bigger things or maybe some things that are like more challenging or more unique or just different, I actually quite like sprinkling in things that I'm pretty sure are going to be just sort of like meeting my expectations middle of the road. Essentially things that I know what I can expect from them because it helps break things up. And it also just like reinforces tropes that I like and like helps me understand my enjoyment of that trope even more. So like, let me give you an example. I would say that a lot of contemporary romance I read and a lot of mystery procedurals I read are 3 stars. But I actually like getting those into my diet because they're not something that's gonna like knock my socks off, and assuming that they're like competently written and don't have like hugely problematic elements to them, they're also not gonna like put me off or make me have to think that much. They're almost like 3-star reads for me often are books that allow my brain to go into autopilot a little bit more. So I'm getting the enjoyment of the experience of reading, but I'm not necessarily having to work that hard at it. And for me, that's really helpful between bigger books or books that I do have to engage my brain more on. So I really like having some of these kind of more middle of the road books in the mix as a way to kind of help me keep my reading momentum going and to give me an opportunity to explore like nuances of tropes that I enjoy. So like maybe this procedural has like an extra element of like uppity up in the police department who is trying to thwart what the main detective is trying to do. And maybe there's something new in that dynamic that makes me realize like, oh, I like it when authors have this kind of meddling uppity up, but I don't really like this kind of meddling uppity up. Like because it's something that's pretty predictable, I'm not getting like a ton of new things thrown at me. The new things that there are, or the like small unique elements of a given trope, stand out even more to me. So maybe in a contemporary romance, I realize like, oh, okay, I like it when 2 characters thought they were gonna have a one-night stand, but like, whoops, it turns out like they're each other's new coworkers or something, and so they're gonna have to like confront the fact that they had a one-night stand, versus I realized I don't really like something that's a one-night stand and then they decide they're just gonna do something casual from there. So like it's, both of them are like one-night stand contemporary romance tropes, but they're slightly different flavors. And so as I'm reading a bunch of them that are not that hard to get through and maybe aren't that exceptional, but are pleasing me in terms of giving me a trope I like, I hone in more and more and more on the really specific, like, this is what I love, this is what's okay, and this is what I don't like, and sort of these like micro tropes, if that makes sense. I would say the same thing applies for like writing quirks. So like I have realized recently that I get really irritated when people are overusing italics in certain kinds of books. Like I've noticed it a lot in certain kinds of mysteries, like some mysteries, there'll be like an italics of like, and then the body was gone. And like, I'm like, it's dramatic enough. I don't need you to like italicize this entire sentence to let me know that I need to be excited. Or I've noticed that that's a way that some contemporary romance authors will use to kind of communicate voice or tone or like idiosyncrasies in a given character's first person narration, and I just don't like it. If I'm scanning the page and there's like 7 words italicized, it's too much. But like that's something that I don't know I would be able to say so specifically if I hadn't read a lot of these sort of like consumable books that are just fine and not necessarily something special, but like get the job done. For me, a 3-star is only disappointing if it's either an author that usually I would expect to deliver a lot higher quality. So like if I read an Ilona Andrews book that ended up only being 3 stars of like, this was fine, that would disappoint me, because in general, Ilona Andrews books are not just fine to me, like they're above that. So maybe, I don't know, I always get a little turned around about how I should rate certain authors or certain types of books, because like if you give me an isolated house mystery and like kind of an old-timey setting, like I'm such a sucker for that it would take a lot for that to not be something that really pleased me. So like I don't know, like this gets into a whole other discussion about like, do you give ratings on a scale, but whatever. Let's just say that like at least what I try to do is have like a neutral 3-star, which is just like a B book. Like, would I give this book a B? And if so, that's a 3-star book. So like for Ilona Andrews, I think of Ilona Andrews as an A student. So like if Ilona Andrews got a B, that would be disappointing to me. But for almost any other author, if you get a B, that's fine. The only time I'm going to be disappointed is if I've heard so much hype that this is an A book and I encounter it and I feel like it's more of a B. That's the only time a 3-star to me is disappointing. Otherwise, it means like, good job. Like you held my interest throughout this book. You did what you were setting out to do in a perfectly satisfactory way. You didn't totally like offend me or like lose me with some sort of crazy plot contrivance or what. Like you got all the way through and I didn't DNF this and I thought it was perfectly fine. And I think that like, that's a good job. Like, good job, author. Like, that's an accomplishment. So yeah, I don't know. I guess this is just sort of a long way to say, I don't think of 3-star books as necessarily being bad books. And I think especially the way some people talk about their ratings at the end of the month, they like get very apologetic on 3-star books. And I don't think you need to. Like, 3 stars is good, at least to me. And maybe this just gets into different people use rating systems in a different way. And then you open up the whole discussion about should we even be trying to rating books? Like, that's a whole thing. But I think for me, I just wanted to like plant my flag down and say like, if you see on my Goodreads that a book got 3 stars, you should, unless in my review, I have some sort of commentary about it being disappointing in some way because I was expecting it to be more, you should probably think of that as like, yeah, she liked it fine. Like it was fine, it was good. So that was my random defense of 3-star books and why I think they're important and why they do really help me in my reading diet as sort of like palate cleansers and like helping me really understand trope preferences or like writing tics I do and don't like. Yeah, I'm for them, they're good. Thank you to all the 3-star books out there. So anyway, if you enjoyed this random video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I think that will do it. I hope you're having a really lovely day and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.